And now, the Rise Above Show, presented by Roofing.com and hosted by Diego Dante.
Welcome to the Rise Above Show, presented by Roofing.com. I am your host, Diego Dante. We're here in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah, at D2DCon with Becca Switzer. How are you?
Hello, doing great.
Good.
Super stoked to be here.
Yeah. Well, how's the show been so far?
It's been great. It's been good. I just got done with my talk, and I caught Dmitry Lipinski's talk right before mine, just dropping knowledge bombs and giving people a ton of value. So I'm hyped up, ready for 2022. We're going to crush it.
Good deal. So I'm really excited about this podcast because I don't know if this is something that I think I've told you this before, but when I started in roofing, before we built out a training platform for sales reps and all that stuff, it was, hey, go watch. I think there was like a playlist of some of the free videos you'd put up on YouTube, and it was, hey, watch this playlist of videos from Becca, and then we'll send you out with a rep.
Go get them.
Yeah, and then go crush it, right? So I watched a bunch of your videos, and so you trained me, virtually. And so now it's crazy going from, working roofing sales to, working for Roofing.com and now having you on the podcast. So it's just
Yay.
a big full circle moment to have you
awesome.
on the podcast. I'm excited.
That's awesome.
All that being said, you were at RoofCon last year. You were at RoofCon the year before that, and you've been a big cheerleader for all the things that we're doing RoofCon related. I know that first year you posted it on Facebook, and it was really the first big year that we had done RoofCon, and I'm pretty sure maybe 20% of the tickets that came from you. So, I mean, proving it, killer at the sales. So how did you get started in sales?
So my sales career actually started when I was 19. I was at University of Iowa for 2 years. I went my freshman, my sophomore year, and then I came back. I was studying communications and journalism at the time. I thought I was just going to be a writer because I liked writing. And I came back for that summer, and I had a recruitment letter from Vector Marketing, which is Cutco Cutlery, the knives, the scissors that cut the penny. And everybody told me not to do it. My friends were there when I opened the letter, and they're like, that sounds like a scam. And she's like, I think my brother did that. It was pots and pans. You're trying to sell kitchen stuff to your friends. And I was like, I think I'm going to go check it out. So I go to the interview, and it's knife sales. And I ended up that summer selling Cutco knives. And I did so well. I made $30,000 as a 19-year-old kid. I'd never seen that type of money in my life. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm dropping out of school. I don't even know what I'm doing there. And so I'm like, I think I found something I'm good at. So I did the Cutco sales for a year and a half or 2 years or something. And then at the time, my former husband got recruited by a former Cutco manager who was doing storm restoration. He was actually the vice president of the second largest national storm chasing company in the country at the time. So I remember he called me one day, and he's like, I remember it so vividly. I was in my car, my little yellow Dodge Neon that everybody's seen in my story from what I used to drive when I was selling roofs. He called me up, and he's like, do you think you could sell roofs? And I'm like roofs? And he's like, yeah. And I go, I mean, I guess. I'm if someone tells me what to say, He's like, okay. Long story short, we ended up selling everything we owned, moving out to Connecticut,
Wow.
halfway across the country. I owned nothing. Everything that I owned was reduced into a Rubbermaid container. We bought a little shitty truck and then moved out there, and I started my first storm. So I did storm restoration. So I storm chased for a couple years, and then we had started a local roofing company in St. Louis. So I was there for a couple years, and during all of that, I was like, man, nobody's teaching people how to do. You can make so much money selling roofs, and nobody's teaching anyone how to do it. What I always say is, if you decided today you wanted to go get into real estate and sell houses, you could go and buy books, CDs, go to seminars, buy a coach that can teach you how to do it. You can go and get a license. Roof sales, there was nothing. If you Googled how to sell roofs, it was did you mean, something else? So that's when I got into selling sales training for roofing, and that's kind of my saga. So long story long.
Yeah, and then from there, you've gone, I see you now, speaking at conferences and talking on panels and all that stuff. I know when we asked you to be at RoofCon, it seemed, I guess the vibe I got was that you were very selective also, with where you go, and you're really focused on, being at the places that fit your values. And so I really appreciated that as well, and so we were excited to have you there at RoofCon, and obviously D2D fits the same values, and I think people are excited to see you here. So with that, this is the Rise Above show. What I wanted the whole reason why we created this podcast is because I wanted to share stories of people that are rising above in their businesses and their leadership development in their personal lives. And so let me ask you a question. What is a big failure that you've had in your, either it could be in business and leadership and in your personal life, and how were you able to rise above from there?
Man, a big failure. I think it's more situation. This is not even really my personal failure, but it was a situation that I was a part of that I had to dig myself out of. So I used to be married, and at the time I was like a salesperson. I never wanted to manage or be a manager or even own my own roof company. I didn't want to do that. I've always been kind of like a lone wolf performer. Let me go, give me my tools, and let me go, and I can do my thing. And so my former husband ran a roofing company into the ground. We were 6 figures in debt. I didn't even know about it until my goal, I was busting my ass selling roofs because I wanted to buy a house. I was sick of moving around. I wanted to go move to Colorado, live in the state I want to live in. And as we were going through that process, we were having trouble getting a house. I'm what is going on? And as it turned out, my ex had dug us 6 figures into debt. And I was holy shit. Some people think they have bad credit card debt if they're $10,000 in debt. We're 6 figures and I had no clue. So, just having to practice massive acceptance of okay, here's where we're starting, and I can either blame, or I can get myself out of it. And so that was actually when I was starting the Roof Sales Mastery stuff, and it was just practice acceptance and do what you can with what you've got. So I just used that to bust my ass, and I'm okay, I need to get that, and I also need $400,000 to buy a house, So that's really one of the biggest hurdles I think I've overcome in my life that comes to mind with that question. But
and now you've got a big pad, and you're in Colorado now, is that right?
Yes.
And I mean, I've seen the house on Facebook, and it looks awesome. Looks like y'all are having a great time out there.
I love it when I'm not being hunted by coyotes and mountain lions.
Well, it just comes with the territory, I guess.
It literally does.
Yeah. So you're having all this success. We see it, we see all the success that you're having. How do you know, though? I guess if a contractor is listening to this and they're trying to reach that level of success, how do you know that you have succeeded in business? At what point do you think it comes where you're okay, I know that I've succeeded?
Well, I think that's a really personal thing, right? For some people, it's when they can step away from their operation and it still runs and it's profitable. For some people, it means they genuinely can show up and enjoy what they're doing. They feel fulfilled making a difference or managing a team, helping other people reach goals. I really think that's such a personal thing. You can quantify it and say, well, when I have this many followers or I'm making this much money, that's success for me. I really think, I define success as being able to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, with whoever I want to do it with, at any time. So that's my definition of success, but I really think that's a highly personal thing for each person, that they have to define what point do I need to reach where I am happy, fulfilled, and making the money I need, and that's my success point.
I love it. My last question for you is, with you're dropping all these truth bombs, all these knowledge bombs, as you were saying in your breakout. What are the things that you're taking in to be able to, fill your mind? What are the books that you're reading? Is there any book that's changed your life specifically? There's
so many. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, amazing book. One of my favorite books is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. I actually don't really read that much content about business. A lot of mine is mindset, law of attraction, manifestation type stuff, because it really gets you into the mind. For me, it gets me into the magic making mindset, where I'm just you can access that feeling of, oh, I know that what I'm going to do is going to work. When you get that exciting, churny feeling in your stomach, you're this is such a good idea, I know it's going to work. Reading more spiritual based readings that have to do with belief and visualizing what you want to create and manifesting what you want to create is really what I feed myself, because it gets me in that point where, I remember when I had the idea of Roof Sales Mastery, but I hadn't made anything yet, and I started making it. Every day I was on fire. I still haven't had that feeling again, where I'm literally on fire. Every day I'm sitting there, I'm this is $1 million idea. I know it. and getting in that creative space. So those types of books really help me get into that mindset. But of course, I love listening to other people and getting like technical sales tactics and things. All the big people like Deshaun Bryant and Adam Bensman's got great stuff. And
both of them we've had on the podcast. We just recorded episodes with both of them, so stay tuned for those.
Yeah, just like, those are like really deep technical stuff. And but those are the things I really spend the most time, I think, reading and feeding myself.
Yeah. So. Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I appreciate everything that you've done for our community.
Of course.
And guys, I guess actually, let me ask you this one last thing before we go. If someone wants to find your content, where do they have to go?
You can go to roofsalesmastery.com, and that's where I have 6 different programs that I offer roofing contractors. So there's recruiting and sales training, supplementing, Xactimate training, all that stuff. So check that out. My business Instagram is at roofsalesmastery, all one word. And then, of course, Becca_Switzer, but I'm shadow banned for, because the government doesn't like me. And then, of course, YouTube is Roof Sales Mastery on YouTube.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. And, guys, if you've tuned in this far, we really appreciate it. And we will be back next week on the next episode of the Rise Above Show, presented by Roofing.com. Peace out.
Bye, guys.